Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Howdy.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. You guys know that I was going through a bit of a depression for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've gotten past that. Now I'm just fucking furious.
Oh, okay.
How different.
Back to my usual self, in other words. I am so fucking tired of the virtue signaling that all these social media things have allowed us all to do. If I see one more "I voted" sticker,
Oh, right.
we have really plumbed the depths of what we need accolades for, and it's driving me nuts. I stand against Kanye. You stand against a raving lunatic? Excellent. You know,
most of it, well, not all, but most of us do.
good for you. It's infuriating to me. I'm tired of it. Everything is some kind of virtue signal, and you are allowed to keep your opinion to yourself. Not me, obviously, because here I am spouting it.
Yeah.
But fuck off with all your virtue signaling. I'm tired of it.
You're just
I'm
jealous.
tired of it, Vanessa.
You're just jealous because we do mail-in ballots here in Washington. We don't get I voted stickers.
That's true. We don't. We get those little tear-off things that are really lame, and it's like, I voted. What am I going to do with you? Nothing. That's all. You go in the recycle bin every time. I will say, though, this recent weeks, we have had a fun social media experiment unfold before us in the form of Twitter and making official accounts for $8.
Yeah.
Which have made the world a fun new place, I will say.
Twitter has gone from kind of useful to absolutely useless and pointless,
Completely
but
useless.
very entertaining.
Yes.
And everybody complaining about Elon, also fuck off with your, like it was somehow run by people who were scrupulous before Elon got a hold of it. These are billionaires, multi-billionaires running this shit. Quit defending any of them.
Well, but he did fire a lot of the
I
not
love it.
multi-billionaires.
I love it. Fire them all. Burn it. What a trash heap Twitter is.
He has done that.
He has.
He really
It's
has.
been done.
It is not going to survive.
Although it was adorable to see him absolutely bend over for Stephen King. Like, oh, we're going to charge $20 a month. Wow, $20, that's a lot. How about $8? Sure.
Well, it tells me he doesn't know what he's doing right now.
Obviously
But
doesn't
I
know
love
what he's
his
doing.
idea. You understand that $8 is supposed to verify a person, not verify that they're real.
But that's not what
Hold
he's
them
doing.
accountable. Now your name is connected to that account. If you
Right.
say shitty things, you can be held accountable for it. And I
Right.
think that's important. He just hasn't figured out how to actually
like make it
work.
real.
Well, that's
like,
what the blue check was before, because they would verify you actually were the person you were, that you were actually this person through a series of checks and shit like that. Now you could say you're whoever you want to be, pay $8, and
Right, but I don't think
Now you
that's
get to
how it's going to stay. Obviously, that
he's already ended that.
it's the problem. So he'll figure something out on this stuff. I don't have a problem with Elon any more than I have a problem with any other multi-billionaire, which is they don't live on the same planet as us.
No.
So they can't possibly understand what it's like to live like we do.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's like a little bit pissy about a situation and decides to buy out the entire company as like revenge and then fucks over the company quite possibly on purpose. Like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of sympathy or.
Exactly. But we shouldn't have had any sympathy for what it was beforehand, is my point.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm not a big Twitterer.
It was garbage, and I want it all to burn.
Oh, it is.
Good.
It is.
Yeah.
It is burning. It is
Facebook
burning.
next, please.
I mean, for as much it could have happened, I don't know. I'm so hardly on it. I only come on for our own page and discussions, which I enjoy very much.
If you follow our Facebook page or even Instagram, occasionally there'll be nothing from Vanessa for like a week or two. Suddenly she shows up commenting on everything and
I
liking
know.
everything.
I'm always like, oh, good morning, Miss Williams. Nice of you to join us.
You know what? I keep engagement alive this way. You know, I keep the conversation rolling by not engaging immediately with it.
Sure, why not?
Let me-
You're
anything
welcome.
interesting?
Let me tell you something that didn't infuriate me,
Okay.
nice.
but only mostly pissed me off.
Okay.
I saw Confess Fletch,
Oh,
which is the
yeah.
new Fletch movie with, what's his name? Don Draper?
Yeah.
I can't remember his
I don't
name right.
remember his name.
Probably
nothing about
the
that.
handsomest man on the planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's absolutely fine in it. It's actually closer to the books than the Chevy Chase movies were. But the writing of the dialogue was clearly supposed to be written or delivered in a Chevy Chase kind of way. So it would have been perfect for
Oh.
Ryan Reynolds. So this would have
Right.
been a gigantic hit if Ryan Reynolds had been behind it. But as it is, it's a very watchable but forgettable movie. I felt really bad because I know that he took a huge cut in his pay to make sure that it could get finished, and he's been fighting for this for a long time. I think that I had read somewhere that Justin Long was originally attached to this, and I think he would have been a much better fit for the kind of character that Fletch is supposed to be, a reporter who's, kind of smarmy and sneaks his way into everything. When you're, why can't I remember his name? Don Draper. When you're Don Draper, you're not hiding from anybody. Every woman notices you, and most of the men notice you. You're just like,
Oh,
Jesus Christ, that
sure.
guy is one handsome son of a bitch. He's not putting on a baseball cap and suddenly he's become somebody else.
John Hamm.
John Hamm.
Yeah.
So, watchable if you're bored. Otherwise,
I don't think I've seen a single Fletch film, so I'm good.
a lot of people grew up at the right time. They were 12 when they came out, and so they're the funniest things on the planet. I didn't see it till I was an adult, and I was like, this is annoying as fuck. So I'm not a huge Fletch fan, but I did like the books well enough,
okay.
the first couple that I read.
Well, I saw something that has recently popped up. I believe it's a Roku original movie. Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
I have heard phenomenal things about
I'm
that.
so glad you're talking about this. I saw this.
You saw this. Awesome. I am shocked at how well it was constructed for like a biographical story that just goes highly off the rails highly quickly. It's starring Daniel Radcliffe, who does an incredible job. I think this movie was completely wasted on me because
Don't know anything about
Because
Weird.
of all the celebrities, you were like, is that supposed to be someone I've heard of?
no, I knew all of that. I
Okay.
understood all of the nods and the jokes. I just don't find anything funny.
Oh, that's right.
I know. I was really disappointed. Like I could hear, my husband next to me laughing, and I was like, "Oh, I guess this is supposed to be funny."
Have you ever been tested for, certain things?
Are you Tex Richmond? You remember Tex Richmond from the Muppets who couldn't laugh? He was
deep cut? Nice.
maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. I'll tell you this as a person who has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I thought it was a goddamn delight. I
Yeah.
loved every minute of it. It is so ridiculous. Not
Nice.
one word of it is true. So I
That
really
sounds-
loved how they leaned into the fact that, pretty early on, you're like, oh, okay, this is not a real life
Mhm.
story. Not as good as UHF, but right up there. I'd like to see him make some more movies.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks great. The miracle ability of most of the Harry Potter people to not have turned into complete disasters
Right.
is impressive, and he is one of the most impressive
Yeah.
of that group.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they found this little kid with, I think he was doing like a stage play at the time, but wonky little kid with big eyes, and all of a sudden he's just an incredible actor. Even though he never grew to be very tall, he never grew to be very buff, and you'd think that would eat away at somebody, but no, he's just like fucking owning it in every turn.
I read this mini article just a couple days ago that said he made $86 million off of the Harry Potter movies, and that he hasn't spent much of it at all because had wise investing and stuff like
Right.
that. And I'm like, good for this guy.
Yeah,
Saw a,
absolutely.
interview with him and Sandra Bullock, and she was talking about her impression of him, and she figured, going off history, that she's going to have to work with this petulant, annoying little shit who's sanctimonious and thinks he is owed everything. And he's like, he is the most respectful, nicest, coolest person I have ever met. And Daniel's sitting right there,
Nice.
just going incredibly like uncomfortable.
Yeah,
It
he
is so
totally is
cool.
looking at his shoes in that interview. Yeah, he's the kind of like, oh, thank you, kind of trying not to like, get too emotional about it.
It's very cool.
Really lovely.
Now,
really lovely.
now let me just also remind you, he's a multi-millionaire. He
Oh my
doesn't live
gosh.
on the same planet as us, so fuck him.
He's also an actor,
He's
so of
also a-
course he doesn't live on the
Yeah,
same
I was gonna
planet
say, he's
as
an
us.
A-level actor, so he's in that.
Forget it.
He's in that world of what, like Sandra was saying, I expected a petulant little asshole, like
Mhm.
so many of them are. Well, I'm avoiding talking about the one I've got maybe a little bit. I decided for some, I don't know, hated myself reason, that I'm going to watch the Puppet Master series.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of them. There's
Mhm.
like 7 or 8, I think, and I've watched, I think, 6 now.
Mhm.
And the worst, without a doubt, by far, and I can guarantee you will be worse than anything after it, is this piece of shit called Puppet Master: The Legacy.
Mm.
Have any of you seen this one?
No.
It's a clip show
Oh,
of
jeez.
a
no.
fucking movie. There's 15 minutes of original material,
Oh my
and
God.
everything else is the legacy of Puppet Master.
Oh no.
Scenes from all the other films. I'm like, wow, this is
That's lazy.
so bad. I'm
Charles
so-
Band, you son of a bitch.
so-
Strikes again.
But it was on Shudder, so I didn't have to pay anything other than what I paid for, and I've watched plenty on Shudder to make up for the $5 a
Louise.
month that costs, or whatever it is now.
I think I watched the first one and I was like surprised that it was stop motion and stuff like
Mhm,
that.
yeah.
So that obviously had some kind of budget.
Yeah, the puppets are incredibly well done, and a few of them, especially there's like I think it's Retro Puppet Master, where they're all like wood,
Oh,
and they look really cool. And you think of a few other films like Demonic Toys and the Bloodstone series. Band seems to have a liking of miniaturized
Right.
stop motion things because there's a lot of them in his movies,
Mhm.
and that aspect of the films are always done well. That's the reason to watch these movies is the puppetry involved in it is pretty spot on most of the time. But God, that movie is just an insult.
is there any puppetry of the penis in these?
Not that I have seen. I
Yet.
don't-
Not yet,
yeah,
you're saying.
there's still a few more, several movies. to
Oh, I'll
go.
come over and watch one with you and we'll make it happen.
Yoy.
Keep it clean, folks. Keep it clean.
I watched
Always.
Tales of the Jedi.
Oh.
Is this the new animated one?
It is the new animated one. I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting what we got, which was basically the fall of Count Dooku in that kind of Clone Wars animation that, is sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I can't
Yeah.
tell. I think it's like character to character whether I like it or not. These are interesting because they're short. They're like 8 minutes long.
Mm.
They're just little mini episodes that show something going on, and Ahsoka Tano is in a couple of them. But overall, I was like, I don't know. It's hard to recommend this unless you're a super fan, and if you're watching this, you're a super fan. So, on the other side, Andor just had the best hour of Star Wars that's been created since Disney took control. So it's a very uneven landscape over there.
Yeah.
Is that the last episode of Andor? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Get-
Still
Get
have to
back into
catch
that
up.
one.
Interesting. So we're coming up on Oscar season, of course. So I went to kind of, I guess
Oh, the
by
movie-
as in
the
the
movies.
movies
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
going to be up for the Oscars. So I went to the theater and saw Tar,
Okay.
which I think, Eric, you should 100% see
Okay.
in theater if you can, because like the sound design is a big part of it. It feels very much like Whiplash.
I'm sitting right here.
You're never going to go to the theater. I'm never going to recommend it for you. You will always have a miserable fucking time.
But
don't
is
wanna
it?
hear
But
you
is it a
moan
good
about it.
movie?
It is, yes, it's a good movie that I will never watch again.
Ah.
Yeah, it's one of those, a lot of these like masterpiece movies are, like incredible performances, really tough topic, where it's talking sort of about people who become super famous and abuse their position of power, and then cancel culture. But the thing I think is best about this movie is it doesn't take a side. At no point tells you that this character is good or bad from the movie's perspective. It's just you see their actions and how they formulate themselves in front of people, which is super fascinating. They don't say cancel culture is good or bad or necessary. They just show what it looks like. So from that perspective, I think it's a really powerful, interesting piece that has a very cool and weird ending, which could be seen as tragic or could be seen as positive, depending on your viewpoint. But anyway, I would say, yeah, it's worth checking out if you like movies about orchestras or music people that are, I don't know where I'm going with this now.
Okay. And so there's Oscar buzz around this.
Yes, for Kate Blanchett as the lead.
Of course. Hi, I'm in a movie. Oh, Kate Blanchett will probably get nominated.
Yeah, she'll be nominated for sure, and she's super good in it. So, like, rightly so. So. She's acting her fucking ass off in this film.
A few times now, I've talked about, as we talk about snobby sounding films, I've been reading that book I told you, The Story of Film. I finished reading that, and I've started to go through the joy of the Letterboxd app. Somebody went through and put a list of all the movies he talks about.
Oh my gosh.
Like 520 movies. I've already seen like 26% of them, so I feel like I'm off to an okay start. So I put it in order of chronological release, and I've started watching them, which is great because like the first 30 are 5-minute silent films. So, but it's funny because he's talking about in his book, the ebook I read had an extra chapter that the physical book didn't, that was talking about how great it is for this book with YouTube. Because when he says that when I was putting this together, I had to find these films.
Right.
I had to get people to ship them to me. I would see them on 16 millimeter or 35, and it cost me hundreds of dollars to get this 15-minute movie.
Yeah.
And now they're all on YouTube.
And that's awesome. I mean, that is the joy of YouTube is that you can get things that are inaccessible, things that have been lost, otherwise would be lost to time, whether through the prints disappearing or copyright issues. So that's cool.
So I've been really enjoying watching these. They're really interesting to watch from, and it also is fun we consider ourselves knowledgeable on the concepts of movies and the ideas. And you read down below, and a few times you realize, you still need to learn some more about movies, sir. Because they react like, oh, so they cut from inside to outside. Big deal. I'm like, yeah, it is a big deal because that's the first time that was ever done in a way to sell stories that they figured out they could coherently not just put on a stage play, but could go from scene to scene with cutting. So yeah, it is kind of important.
I know. That's why I love early cinema is you're like, who had the idea to stick 1,000 people in a car and pretend like it's just like one person coming out at a time? You know, like or flip that. But
Buster Keaton?
Exactly.
Okay.
Buster Keaton. Yeah. So like getting to see those first moments of clever filmmaking is really cool.
So if you love movies, highly, highly recommend that book and that series that he put together.
I was talking to our friend Carlos, who's going through that Tarantino book of movies, and I think that he said that you are also doing the same thing. Is that a book I need to pick up?
It's interesting, yeah, because he takes. I haven't read a lot of it yet, but I'm reading something else right now. A Quentin Tarantino take, as it were. You know, he's got a different way. Sometimes he looks or talks about movies, so it is interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading more about it.
I think I need to pick that up. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
It is much better than his novel.
Okay.
The writing is much, much better.
Okay. All right. Well, how about we take a little break, and then when we come back, we're talking Texas Chainsaw movies.
We handed out 7 brand new Homelight chainsaws to 7 people who'd never used a chainsaw before today. Here's what happened.
It's easy.
It's easy because you can control a home light. They're lightweight, precision balanced. Best of all, they have Home Light's exclusive new safety tip. When the safety tip's in place, your home light can't kick back. Ask the people who never used a chainsaw before. They'll tell you you're in control.
With Home Light!
We have returned. Eric, this was your subgenre.
In a manner of speaking, yes. Yes, it was.
Let me put 10 minutes on the board, and you can tell us what you're doing.
I am doing Texas Chainsaw 3D, or as it's now known, Texas Chainsaw.
The beast in me
So do you know anything about this place?
Just the address.
is caged by frail and fragile bars.
Wow.
Restless by day and by night, rants and rages.
Look like Granny likes to play a little pool.
What exactly did Granny do for a living?
I have no idea. I just learned about her yesterday.
The beast in me. God help the beast in me.
Oh, no. This is not confusing at all.
No. Yeah. So now that it's not 3D anymore, they just decided to drop that.
Sure.
And it's not 3 in their version in any way. So
Jeez Louise.
came out in 2013. Rotten Tomatoes has it at critics at 19
Ouch.
and the crowd at 40. A budget of 20 million,
Wow.
Wow.
and it did 34 million worldwide.
Huh. This has got to be like the highest budgeted Texas Chainsaw movie.
Sure sounds like it, yeah. Directed by John Lusenhop, who also did Takers and Lockdown, not much else. Written by several people. Adam Marcus did the screenplay. He's notable for Jason Goes to Hell, Hearts of Darkness, The Making of Final Friday, which they really need to change that name.
Yeah.
There's another much better, much more famous Hearts of Darkness out there. And Secret Santa. I don't know if that's horror or Hallmark. Deborah Sullivan, who also worked on Secret Santa and Conspiracy. Kirsten Elms, also on the screenplay, worked on Banshee, I think it's a TV show, and Exeter. There are 4 to 5 more writers getting story, and of course the character credits go to Toby and Kim Hinkle, the original writers. Boy, does it show, actually. There's so many writers on this thing. So the star of this one is the now very well-known Alexandra Daddario, who you might know from Baywatch, Percy Jackson, Songbird, We Have Always Lived in Castles, which I talked about on here, and 43 episodes of All My Children. Tanya Raymond has 19 episodes of Lost, Deep Blue Sea 3,
Hmm.
Scott Eastwood. Yes, that Eastwood. Suicide Squad, Flags of Our Fathers. Wonder how he got that gig. And Gran Torino. But The Fate of the Furious, but he's actually a pretty good actor, so it's not nepotism. Trey Songz with a Z. He's been in Preacher's Kids and a crap ton of music videos. And Gunnar Hansen, Bill Moseley, and Marilyn Burns, who was in the original Texas Chainsaw, all make appearances in this film. I do enjoy the old Lionsgate logo with the gears and the guides. That's how I started out this. God, I'm going to find whatever I can enjoy about this because I expect nothing of it. The opening credits feature like the greatest hits from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I find an incredibly iffy thing to do.
Ballsy.
Yeah. It's like, hey, look how great this movie is. Now we're going to go into ours. Okay. This movie picks up, this is one of those no other sequels happens, picks up like literally where the cop is getting a call that a woman is in the back, covered in blood in the back of a truck, and they need to go do something about it. So, I mean, it's right there.
Jeez.
There's a huge drawback to this, though. That's a, 30 some odd, 30, 40 year span. So the entire family, the guy who played Grandpa is there, way in the background. I mean, the original actor does make an appearance way in the background. Bill Moseley plays, whom I'm assuming was the guy who ran the store in the original one. And now there's a whole bunch more because as the cop pulls up, they show cars coming up just before him and a bunch of people jumping out with shotguns and going into the house to like defend it. I'm like, who are all these people? And, you know, they make no reference to them being the original family. They don't really look like anybody in the original family. So it's very strange choices. And then a whole bunch of good old boys from the town show up with shotguns. It's like, we know he's the one who did this. So it's time we kill everybody, basically. That's what they end up doing. I'm sure Leatherface is killed as well. Right?
Absolutely.
But the twist is, there's now a woman in the family who has a baby. Don't know where she came from. Don't remember being in the original movie. She didn't get out of the car. So, hey, all questions you can figure out your own answers for. And also this movie takes place during Halloween.
What?
Which is mentioned and then like never occurs again.
Really toasty Halloween out in Texas.
That's right.
Is the woman with the baby like from like she's a survivor or she's like in the part of the family?
She's part of the family.
Okay, got it.
It's a WB style cast without a doubt.
Yeah.
This is a cast of walking models on all sides. The version of the hitchhiker, who's, you know, very creepy and weird looking in the original, looks kind of like Brad Pitt. So, all right. And of course, Alexandra Daddario is in it. I'm a little confused how the family from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre gave birth to a woman who grew up to resemble Alexandra Daddario.
It skips a generation.
Yeah. And but that happens like 15 minutes in, so I'm not giving away a spoiler that you find out that she is that baby that was found at the wreckage of the house. Oh, did you mention here he's far more Brad Pitt than Edward Neal from the 70s is. Sean Sips plays the Brad Pitt lookalike. The house that she's been left is amazing. Amazing. There's a lot of money that was not being used. I'm sure if I sat down and laid out the family tree for this film that it might make sense. But as it's presented in the movie, why does this have so much money? And there's different names. Anyways. And of course, the entire group of friends leave the hitchhiker alone in the house as they go off to get food for the night. Wonder what he's going to do. So, of course, he starts to rack the house because why? This is a pretty but dumb cast. They don't know what's going on. But he does find Leatherface. So the hitchhiker is the first guy taken out. Boy, the mask at the beginning of this looks like poop.
Oh
no.
But later on, he makes a new mask in probably the best scene of the film. It's just grim and gruesome.
Mhm.
Like defaces a guy and builds a mask out of it right there.
Nice.
It's like, new. Also, if you do watch this film, and the way I'm talking, actually, I do not dislike this as much as it sounds. It's not great. It is much better than the last Netflix one.
Yeah.
The acting across the board is good. The assholes are straight up assholes. The young crew is a group of. There's a reason Alexandra went on to have such an interesting career, not just a pretty woman career.
Mhm.
So it's all good performing, and the violence is well enough done until the end, where it felt very practical, but then the end goes this horrible CGI blood, just really bad. I'm like, why did you do that? But
Probably looked better with the 3D glasses on.
yeah, I
Mm.
imagine so. There's a couple of things that that would have looked good in 3D, like when she throws the chainsaw.
Mm.
It's like, oh my god. But if you're a Chainsaw Massacre fan, this is a watchable enough sequel. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. The tagline, "Evil wears many faces."
Yeah, boy.
Here's another sign that you knew this was going to be a troubled movie. 18 producers.
Oh, wow.
It had 2 line producers, 1 associate producer, and 15 executive producers.
Wow.
So you've got 15 people putting money into this, and at least a few of them are probably a pain in the ass about it. In an interview with Collider, Daddario said she didn't want to say the line, "Do your thing, cuz." She felt it was silly. Then the producer told her the whole movie is supposed to be a little silly. And it is a little silly. There's a lot of strange goofiness to this film. So, if you're going, should I watch the Netflix one or this one? Watch this one.
I saw this one in the theater.
Oh my
I'm
God.
embarrassed to say.
Did the 3D help?
I don't remember much of it. I remember leaving and thinking, well, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Mm.
It doesn't sound like you've seen it
I
at
have
all.
not seen it.
So tonight, you and the hubby gonna pull up
Texas Chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw.
No.
Oh.
No. I'm good. Thank you.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the, like Hellraiser's. If you're looking at the classic modern Pinhead, Hellraiser, that's my favorite of that group of Jason and Freddy and all that.
Yeah.
Texas is actually kind of probably number 2, at least the first film. It is actually a disturbing, dark, uncomfortable film to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that's what every Texas Chainsaw Massacre since kind of missed.
I'd agree with that. I find it actually a little too hard to watch, and so that's why it's not up in my favorites of the movies. So.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Should we let this run out? How much time you got left?
I don't know, maybe a minute?
Maybe?
Oh, or less.
Boy, you guys are
Maybe
really bad
a
at
minute.
this.
It's really hard to tell on this egg timer, guys.
Okay, Vanessa, are you going next?
Get ready for that deep dive. Get all the oxygen ready.
10 minutes on the board.
All right. So I did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
"13 years ago, audiences across America were horrified by the savagery of a faceless killer. In the wake of this bizarre rampage, he vanished. Now, after more than a decade of silence, he has come out of hiding. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The Buzz is back. Directed by Tobe Hooper.
Based off of having never seen it and having seen the first one only.
I am interested in your take on this one.
Yeah, for sure. I have thoughts. I got a very nice copy from Vinegar Syndrome, so I do recommend, if you're a fan, to get that one because it's awesome and they still have copies left, so it's like the cool version. It came out in 1986, so a little bit before the third one / second one, 1.5, I guess.
The one I just did is in no way a numbered
Right.
grouping. Okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay.
So, but mine would take place, I guess, after yours would have taken place.
Gotcha.
Kind of. And then before. But anyway, Rotten Tomatoes score of 50% from critics and 44% from audience. This had a budget of $4.7 million and a box office of 8. So it was actually pretty successful. Toby Hooper came back to direct this. He, of course, did the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as Life Force, the Salem's Lot TV series, and he's uncredited director on both The Dark and Venom. However, he's credited but did not direct Poltergeist, as some may argue. He died in 2017, which I didn't realize he had passed. Written by L.M. Kit Carson, who's also an actor, but he wrote Paris, Texas, The Hitchhiker, Breathless, and produced Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket. This is starring Dennis Hopper. 208 credits to his name: Apocalypse Now, Speed, Easy Rider, Blue Velvet, Waterworld, which we've talked about before, and Super Mario Brothers. He did a lot of work I didn't realize before becoming kind of a bigger deal in 1969 with Easy Rider. He had started acting in 1954, and he's been around a bit, so he really earned it. Wow. Caroline Williams is also in this. She's been in 70 things, including The Legend of Billie Jean, Days of Thunder, Stepfather 2, Leprechaun 3. Now she does a lot of really small roles, but she's still acting. And Jim Cito returns. He's the only returning cast member from the original film. And he's been in 6 things that you don't need to worry about because it's just basically this. The story. So we start off with 2 really dumb teenagers. They're taking a sort of road trip from high school to college. They're shooting a gun out of their car, hitting mailboxes, and basically trying to cause as much mayhem as possible. They even play chicken with this big truck, which, really freaks everybody out and runs them off the road. And that's definitely going to be a smart move later on. They then call into the radio station, a radio station where a beautiful chick is like the DJ over there. And she's talking to them and she's like, could you guys like freaking hang up? You obviously don't want to talk. And they're just drunk and silly and like, laughing. And they're like, no, we're not gonna hang up. And of course, when they refuse to hang up and they stay on their, by the way, this is a car phone from the 80s. So it is a rich dickhead teenagers. So they're like on their fancy car with their fancy phone. The truck that they ran off the road comes back, kind of catches them on a bridge where they can't really escape. And a guy wielding a chainsaw pops up off the top of the truck and starts just slicing and dicing the top of this very nice car because it has like a fake roof kind of thing. And they cut the driver's head in half, which means he crashes and the other guy dies too. So Dennis Hopper, who plays Lieutenant Bode Lefty Enright. I don't know when he started being called Lefty. That'll come up later, but I was like, okay, I guess you're Lefty. He is the uncle of Sally and Franklin Hardesty, who are the victims of the cannibalistic family from years past. Since that time, no one has been able to find the family or the house that Sally escaped from. She has since gone insane, rightly so, and the case went cold, except for there are a bunch of people who are dying and disappearing, and there's chainsaw rumors, and apparently it's happening all over Texas, but don't worry about it, I guess. So he arrives and he's basically told to leave the scene alone because he's that crazy, obsessed uncle who just can't leave this case. Meanwhile, the family is pretty quickly revealed in this at a chili cookout where the winner will not reveal the secret ingredient of their famous local chili, 2-year winner. So seems apparently this family has gotten into business and they're doing good. Leatherface is back, but he's kind of wearing a secondary dummy Leatherface in front of him. So I don't know what that's about. Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. He is at the beginning. His brother is there, missing part of his skull with a metal plate that he scratches consistently and eats the skin off around. Very fun to watch. Love it. Definitely my kind of thing. And the hot, cool DJ, Stretch, re-enters the film when she decides to get in touch with Lefty, and she has the tape recording, because they record every show, of this incident on the road. And she's like, hey, I have evidence for you. You've been looking for solid proof of what's going on down. And he's like, no, I don't want it for some reason. And then she's like, okay, cool. Well, I'll play the story out on the air, and then maybe we can help you track down the killer. And he says, no, for some reason. And she also wants to be a reporter. So she's like really into this. And I'm like, I don't know why you're a cool DJ, but also want to be a reporter. That's a weird segue. So later he changes his mind. And so she does play the tape in full on the radio, and it upsets the family. The dad sends out his sons to deal with her. They wreck up the place, but Leatherface decides he has a thing for Stretch, leaves her be, and lets her live, which means, of course, as a reporter / DJ, decides to follow them back to their house, which is in an abandoned amusement park. This story is so fucking weird. Okay, so she gets there and then she keeps following them. I'm like, cool, you have the address. Go home. Report it. No, she's going to wander further in and then fall into like a trap door, kind of. And then the police guy was following her all along, but he didn't like stop the guys when they were like at the radio station. He could have trapped them and just killed them or whatever. No, he follows them back to their house as well, I guess. At this point, the movie goes bonkers. She is just running around a fun house of horrors. There's a lot of like blood and guts and like corpses everywhere, rotting flesh, all that kind of stuff. She, of course, like immediately falls down like sort of a slippy fun slide into a pile of visceral. And meanwhile, he is got some chainsaws and he just runs around the outside just chopping at the set constantly. He's just trying to bring it down, and he keeps just yelling out over and over, all bring it all down. So Hopper just fucking goes. There is obviously an improv situation happening here. No one has control of him. He's like, bury the devil, bring it all down, Lord have mercy on our soul. He's just saying random shit. And she's, of course, like trying to deal with the family in all kinds of weird and gruesome ways. This film would be nothing without Dennis Hopper being absolutely insane. I don't know why they gave the man a chainsaw. He actually has a chainsaw that seems to be functioning with a chain on it. And I'm like, you should not have done that. Other people do not have functioning chainsaws. I saw it. They don't, but he does. And that is weird. I have no idea why they, like I said, I don't know why they call him Lefty. That just starts happening randomly. And I'm like, who is that person? Oh, I guess it's him. The plot makes no sense. I think they just had some set pieces they wanted to play with. The attack on the radio station, however, by the brothers is pretty fun. The circus setting is fun. I think the actress who played the role of the DJ reporter was just massively fucked by this film, because she's great, but she is randomly told to like scream for no reason. It's like you literally just wore a guy's face and was cool and like managed to like prevent yourself from being murdered. And a guy held a chainsaw to your crotch and you were fine, and it was fine. But now you're at a table. They recreate the entire scene from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a blatantly stupid, time-wasting way. And she's like screaming her head off because that's what the original character did. And I'm like, this is stupid. You were fine and now you're not. So whatever. I don't know. The Leatherface being a good guy, I'm not sure works very well in this. He's just sort of got a little bit of a disability, that's all, but he thinks ladies are hot and chainsaw dick jokes are amazing. The ending of this is pretty dumb, but whatever. They're trying to mirror again the original. There's no real story here. If you like the first one, you'll hate this one because it's a comedy. I'm gonna run out of time for trivia, but the effects were by Tom Savini.
Oh boy, Vanessa, you're gonna have to get better at this.
I know, I'm really bad at this, guys. I do have to get better at it. I was like, there's no plot to describe, but then you have to describe something.
Give us a couple of trivia.
All right, I'll just give you a couple of pieces here. Several of the scenes were deleted due to pacing issues, including a lengthy bit where the Sawyer clan go out at night to collect meat for their chili. They slaughter a bunch of movie patrons, including one Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah.
So he was in it as a gonzo moviegoer, but no more. Toby Hooper was just going to produce this film, but no director would hop on for the budget. So he decided to go ahead and do it, much to the surprise of Canon Films, who expected a horror film, but he wanted to make a black comedy. So they were pretty unhappy with the final results. Carolyn Williams wanted to make a strong impression in her audition when she was called in. So she went to the end of the hallway and ran screaming into the room, where she pulled Toby Hooper and LM Kit Carson out of their seats and used the chairs to barricade the door before she began her scene. Really committed.
Oh, that would, yeah. Memorable.
Mm-hmm. Gunnar Hansen was initially approached to reprise his role as Leatherface, but he claimed to have been offered scale plus 10%, with the 10% going to his agent. When he replied he had no agent, they offered him scale without the additional 10%, and he found the offer too low.
Yeah.
The corpse at the Chop Top and Leatherface, that Chop Top and Leatherface were carrying around with them, was in fact the original hitchhiker from the first film.
Nice.
Yep. And Tom Savini stated that the makeup and effects for Grandpa that he did on this was his most proud accomplishment, which he compares to the makeup for the aged Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man from 1970. There you go.
Okay.
I know. I was like,
he
wow.
compares that to that.
He made that comparison.
He made that comparison.
I'll contradict one thing he said.
Yes.
I really liked the first one, and I really liked this one.
Okay.
I think it's just so batshit crazy.
It's batshit crazy.
And it was fun, partially because probably maybe a little more fun to watch because the woman I watched it with got scared out of the room by the radio scene. She's like, I'm not watching the rest of this damn movie.
Sure.
Which always makes movies more fun to watch.
So true. So true. I think it's more tonally. I'm saying if you like dark, creepy,
sure.
low budget horror, maybe this one won't be the same tone for you.
I saw this for the first time like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And I also loved it. And I was like, wow, how did I miss this movie this whole time? This is probably my favorite of the series, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Could totally see that because it's so different. It's so unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of Halloween 3-esque. Not in that it didn't have the original, obviously, but it's such a totally different kind of film.
It's wacky.
Yeah. I think I would have liked it a lot better if they weren't trying to sort of make nods towards the first one. I think that was kind of what undermined it for me. But that being said, I did have a really good time when they were just being fucking bonkers. Yeah.
Dennis Hopper's good at being
He sure is.
bonkers.
I don't think he was scripted. I think he was just fucking doing what he wanted. And they were like, all right, Dennis, you go over there.
I believe that.
All right, I'm putting 10 minutes on the board for myself. I chose from 1995, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, or its original title, The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
August 18th, 1973. Reports of a bizarre chainsaw-wielding family began to filter out of central Texas. Then silence. For 20 long years, nothing further was heard. 1995. Prom night isn't turning out the way you expected. You find yourself on the wrong road at the wrong time. About to come face to face with a living nightmare.
Welcome to my world.
The silence is over.
He's dead now.
Madness has returned. 4 stars, terrifying and brilliant. This is the best horror film of the 90s.
Family values have gone straight to hell.
Genuinely scary and sharply self-satirical, Leatherface has a lot in common with the gender-bending killer in The Silence of the Lambs.
I want these people to know the meaning of horror.
You weren't scared? Have a look behind you.
Been a long night, boys. I could use a little action.
The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Which makes no sense as a title, but I fucking love it. Have you guys seen this movie?
No.
Yes.
You have seen it. Okay. Well, all right. Let me get into this. Budget of 600,000. Box office of 186,000. Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 16%, and the audience has it at 18%. This one was written and directed by Kim Henkel. This is his only directing credit, but he wrote the original screenplay for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and also Eaten Alive, which I spoke about on this podcast, Last Night at the Alamo, and Butcher Boys, which he considers a proper third Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He thinks this is the proper second, and Butcher Boys is the third.
Wow.
Starring Renee Zellweger. 50 credits, including Jerry Maguire, Bridget Jones' Diary, and Chicago. Matthew McConaughey, 75 credits, including Dazed and Confused, Frailty, Reign of Fire, which I have spoken about on this podcast, and the first and best season of True Detective, which also had Alexandria Daddario.
That's right.
And it also stars Robert Jacks. It introduces Robert Jacks as Leatherface. 5 credits, including Scary Movie, not that one, Slacker, and Hannah's War. Okay, wow, this movie, this was not what I expected. I thought it was going to be kind of campy and stupid, and it's not campy, at least. I also thought this would be a movie where the biggest names in it would be bit parts, but they are literally the 2 leads, which was a shock to me. So, we open with Jenny, which is Renee Zellweger, getting ready for prom. And then her stepdad comes in the room and starts yelling at her, slapping her, and he definitely wants to fuck her. It's pretty obvious.
Good Lord.
And so that's fun. It's a very gross, difficult scene, but I guess it does kind of set up her character a bit in that later on in the film, all this really horrible shit is happening, and she doesn't seem very fazed by it. But so I assume that's what the point of the scene is for, because other than that, I think that was cut out of the theatrical version. That was just put back in for the video release. So she's at prom with her date and her best friend, who's also with her date. And her best friend's date is cheating on her at the prom. So that's always fun. And then he makes a big deal about when he's caught by her. He makes a big deal about how he wouldn't have to do that if his girlfriend would just put out. You know how that goes, Vanessa.
Wait, what?
We immediately hate this guy. He's so over the top a dick that you're like, oh, come on. It's kind of lazy writing. The writing on all of this is so broad that you're not given anything to think about with any of these characters. There's the virgin, there's the asshole, there's our character who's the smart girl basically, and then her boyfriend who's the good guy, you know. So her best friend jumps in the car and starts speeding away, and then her cheating date gets in the car with her, and then our two are already in the back seat and all this stuff. And they are driving and yelling. She's pissed off. And then it seems like they're only driving for about 15 minutes, but they find themselves on this dirt road and they don't know where they are anymore.
I don't know. I've been to Walla Walla. That sounds very, very much like experiences I've had.
So they find themselves on this dirt road, and all of a sudden there's another car, and they get in an accident with it, and the kid in that car is hurt, and they don't know what to do. So they leave Jenny, Renee Zellweger's date, to watch over him, and then the other three, they go walking through the woods to find help. Seems like you just walk back the way you came, and you would bump into your school or something like that. I don't know. They end up finding this cop shop, which is helmed by a very hot but ditzy receptionist, and she calls the sheriff to go out and help them, and so they decide to walk back to the wreck and wait for him. The receptionist, people start driving by and honking, and she goes to the window and says, "Get out of here," and flashes her tits at them. And then she's like, "These kids will do anything to see my tits."
Wow.
It didn't seem like they had to do much at all.
Nope. They're spectacular fake tits. So I'm sure she's like, I'm getting my money's worth out of these. So they are walking back to the wreck, and they get separated, of course. Jenny's friends finally end up at the Sawyer house, right? where they are terrorized by Leatherface and his family. And here's where the movie really shifts tonally. This scene was making me very anxious and uncomfortable because some of the fighting and struggling scenes felt too real, and I couldn't help but think that the actress was actually getting hurt the way he was throwing her around, because he's throwing her around pretty hard, and it didn't look like a stunt person. It looked like her, and then he slams her into a sitting freezer, and then slams the door on top of her. And I was like, oh, she hit her head kind of hard on the back of that, but it looked very realistic. It was just, she was putting up a great fight too. She's struggling hard and swinging at him and everything. And so it made me feel like maybe they didn't have a great on-set relationship. And she was like, fuck you. If you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it just, I don't know. It didn't look like a choreographed fight, in other words. Meanwhile, Jenny is lost out in the woods, and here comes McConaughey as Wilmer Sawyer. And he is fucking crazy. He has a hydraulic leg and crazy eyes. And he picks her up and takes her back to the house where she finds the bodies of her friends and shit like that. And then becomes kind of a typical Chainsaw Massacre movie with the dinner table scene and dead people around the table and the patriarch at the head and all the shit that we come to expect from these movies. From there, it goes into pretty familiar territory. She escapes and thinks she's free, only to get captured again. And of course, the receptionist is in on all of this. So there were some moments that I liked in the movie, but overall, it was a really miserable film. Not fun at all. Once we hit the mid-act 2 point, there's entirely too much screaming. Everyone is constantly screaming. Renee Zellweger is screaming because she's being put through all this. Her friends are being tortured horribly. Wilmer makes fun of them by screaming at them when they scream. And it's just like, geez, this is a lot of screaming. It's too much. Then they pull out this weird kind of Illuminati angle in the third act, and I almost got interested again, but it was too little, too late, and it never really clicked. It needed to be introduced much earlier. Commenting on the film's ominous twist, Henkel stated, "There's a leader of some harem-scarum cult that makes a practice of bringing victims to experience horror on the pretext that it produces some sort of transcendent experience. Of course, it does produce a transcendent experience. Death is like that, but no good comes of it." McConaughey gives 110% to this film. He is fantastic. I can't believe how hard he is acting in this. Zellweger is awful through most of it. There's scenes where she's acting so bad that I was like, she's trying to get fired or something. Halfway through this, she was like, I do not want to be in this movie. And I don't know. She pulls it together for most of her scenes with McConaughey, at least. And I wonder if he had a conversation with her like, hey, get your shit together. We got you till 8 o'clock tonight, right? Everybody's working on this thing. Did not like this movie. I was expecting a comedy, I think, because of what I had heard. And that probably didn't help. Some trivia. When asked about this movie, Renee Zellweger said, "It was dangerous. I don't know if any of it was legal. It was a great workout. Running from a guy with a live chainsaw is excellent motivation."
Oh my God.
It was a lot of fun. It was my first role, really. I couldn't believe that somebody was going to trust me with that somebody was going to take this chance on me. I was really grateful. I have no shame about that movie.
Oh, wow.
I know, it made me like her a lot.
Holy crap.
Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger came to fame 2 years later with A Time to Kill and Jerry Maguire, respectively. Both shared the same talent agency. When Sony, which owned this movie's distribution rights, was preparing to re-release it, highlighting the pair, their agent threatened a lawsuit against the studio, claiming their clients were being unfairly exploited. The agency also said that if Sony released this movie on the backs of their names, neither would appear in any future Sony releases.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
And then let's see, another element noted. I'm going to skip that stuff. I'll say this. Despite the title, absolutely 0 people are massacred by a chainsaw in this movie.
Oh, wow.
And this is the second movie in which Matthew McConaughey... You'll have to find out yourself.
Tell us.
The second movie, McConaughey.
This is the second movie in which Matthew McConaughey says, all right, all right, all right.
Oh,
Which came first?
Dazed and Confused.
Oh, good.
That does make me feel a little better and worse at the same time.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trivia on Leatherface, who is mostly cross-dressing in this movie, which is a weird shift. But Henkel said the whole point of him wearing the face, whoever's face he is wearing, is that he takes on that persona.
Oh.
Which I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing that never really gets explored.
Huh.
especially if you have to explain it in a interview 14 years later.
No kidding.
So,
Wow.
I did not like. I wanted this to be campy.
Right.
I thought this was going to be like Texas Chainsaw 2,
Yeah.
but it was absolutely not. It was.
That was my assumption too, because it just always sounded really goofy.
Yeah.
And,
And it's called The Next Generation or The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sounds like a joke title, right? It makes no
Right.
sense. So
So was it the next generation of the Texas, like were there kids involved, or was it just
Well,
the
so
new teens?
McConaughey would have been a new
Okay.
guy, but Leatherface is still there, and the
Yeah.
patriarch of the family is still there.
Huh.
It, yeah.
I remember being fine with it because I didn't have any expectations other than
Did you
those two that were in it.
Oh, so you would have saw it as a video release. Yeah.
And but not memorable either. So that probably indicates that it's fine.
Quite bad. Quite bad. Although McConaughey, Jesus, he doesn't know what movie he's in.
Yeah, I don't think he ever does.
He's working so goddamn hard in this. He was also, there's a scene where he's throwing the receptionist around, and I just felt like everybody had to have been getting hurt on this set.
Yeah.
So, because it all looked like the actors, they were all getting their backs slammed on edges of tables and shit like that.
Jeez.
Maybe it's the old man in me that's like, oh, that looked like that hurt.
You can feel that tomorrow.
Vanessa, we are finally out of Thanksgiving. Please give us a different subgenre.
Yes. Yeah. Not Thanksgiving oriented. So I am going to go with Western horror or horror Western. So whether it's a Western with some horror bent to it or a horror film with a little bit of Western bent to it, that I think that would be fun to look into.
Done the Clint Eastwood ones of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I like this idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, now's the part where we thank everybody for liking and sharing posts, participating in the Value for Value.
I got a quick thing to add to this.
Okay.
Anybody out there that's following us or liking us or something on Instagram, feel free to DM us on there or start following us if you're not, and we'll follow you back.
Oh,
nice.
Interact more on Instagram.
Cool. I like that.
That's kind of Value for Value right there. Yep. Also, if you feel like giving us a call, you feel like telling us how you felt about a particular movie we talked about, or you just want to leave a dirty message or something like that, you can reach us at 253-237-4266. Leave us a message. Please let us know in that message if we can play your message on the air. And, geez, I'm hitting my mic all over the place today. That's it. Anything else from you guys?
I will say if you do call our line, I think there was at least one listener who said that they were so frustrated and yelling at their podcast player. You can just do that on the phone.
Oh God,
to
yeah.
us. You can correct
definitely.
us. You can tell us your thoughts on what we've been talking about. We would love to hear your side of things too. So
for sure.
Definitely.
All right, we will be back in 7 short days, and we are talking horror westerns or
Western horrors.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
253-237-4266.
You're never going to go to the theater. I'm never going to recommend it for you. You will always have a miserable fucking time.